Hey, okay, it's late. It's a late night rant. I'm actually sick too, so this is going to be like super ranty, way more ranty than it would normally be. Let me just go on to my public page and share it with my private page so people can jump on if they want to. Hopefully that works. I think that works. And I want to talk about this because it just keeps coming up over and over and over. And there's like a really... there's a reason why we do this, and there's a reason why I want to share this, because this is like the key to figuring this stuff out. So a lot of us say that we want to have more purpose in our lives, and we want to understand our purpose, and we want to feel our purpose. So I'm a strategist by training. If you don't know me, I'm a professional strategist. I used to work as a strategic planner in the U.S. government. Now I do strategy for small businesses and for individuals. And on this level, strategy, big vision stuff, we're talking about life purpose work or business purpose work, messaging, that type of thing. So when people say, I want to know my purpose, which is what I'm uniquely qualified to do, it's what I work on, right? People say, well, I want to know my purpose. And what most people think they're asking for is, tell me how to feel more meaningful in my daily life. Give me something that's going to make my actions feel like my life is not a waste of time. And so when we say, tell me what my purpose is, when people, and we've all been there, right? Like we've Googled things, we've taken quizzes, we've taken tests, we've read books on it. Like, tell me what my purpose is. And what we're looking for is a job title. We're looking for action steps that feel like they're satisfying us. And that we will have contributed in a meaningful way. So here's where we get confused. The vast majority of us are not looking for purpose. We're looking for meaning. Because meaning is what makes us feel content. Meaning is what makes us feel like we added value. Meaning is what makes us feel like our life was worthwhile and that we mattered being here. And here's the big distinction I want to share with you between the two things. Purpose is action-based. It's about, what do I now do with this meaning that I understand in the world? And meaning is an awareness. So when we're talking about, I want to know what my purpose is. I want to live my purpose. I want to express my purpose. Like, more power to you. I can help you get there. That's the work that I do. But the first step is to figure out what the meaning is that you want to feel. The meaning that you've attributed as your soul on a subconscious level, on a level that you haven't yet made articulate in your conscious mind. What meaning you have ascribed to your life. And when we know that meaning, we can then live with awareness of meaning. And this is the first step. The first step is a mental step. The first step is a mental shift. It's a paradigm shift. Can I see meaning? Can I see my life through the lens of meaning? And when I'm now aware of meaning, then I'm able to bring meaning into my daily life. And then the actions that I take are purposeful. And I'm now living actions that express a meaning that I've given to my life. I know this is a little bit deep, and if you have any questions, please post them in the box. But meaning is about awareness, and purpose is about action. So when you say you want to know your purpose, I get that you want to know, what's the action that I can take on a day-to-day basis that's going to make me feel better, that's going to make me feel like my life is valuable. Awesome. Perfect. We're going to get there. But know that the first step of that is to change your awareness. Because when you now have an awareness of meaning in your life, what you're meant to experience, what you're here to share as a message, what your energy brings into a room, because we all know those people who just by them being around makes us feel better, right? Like, that's the meaning you bring. But that asks for awareness. That asks for awareness, not immediate action. So we have to do a paradigm shift first. We have to open ourselves to the potential for what we are here trying to figure out, what we are here working on, what we're here experiencing, all of the crappy things that we've had happen in our lives, all the high points, all the low points, all the stuff, all the meaning that we've attributed to it, and then what that's really telling us about our soul's journey here. And when we have that ability to see our lives through a meaningful lens, through a lens that allows us to look at things like contribution, to look at things like, if being me is just enough, what does it mean to be me? What does me even bring? Then we can start to have the conversation about, okay, well now if me chooses to act, how can I act in a purposeful way to infuse even more meaning into my life and the lives of others? So purpose is great, but it's the second step. Purpose is the action and meaning is the awareness that comes first. So when you start to go on your hunt for your purpose, and it shouldn't be too much of a hunt, to be honest, because it's the second step. And it flows out of discovering your meaning, right? It flows out of discovering what your life is about. So if you've seen some of my webinars before, you've been with me on some talks before, you know that I look at purpose a little bit differently. I don't view purpose as a job description, because if it was, then we would achieve it. Right? And a purpose isn't something that you achieve. A purpose is something you expand into. It's something you explore. It's something that you bring to the world. So I view purpose as an emotional spectrum, right? It's like I was describing to one of my mastermind groups today. I view purpose as your emotional calling card. It's your soul's emotional calling card. So when you walk in the room, people feel something from you. If you ask 10 people in your life what they get from knowing you, they're probably going to say roughly the same things. You make them feel really good. You make them feel easy. Oh, they just know everything's going to work out when you're in the room. They just feel so loved by you, or so heard or listened to. You know, you have this emotional, energetic calling card that you carry with you. And that encapsulates your purpose. You can't separate yourself from that energetic calling card. You just can't. People pick up on it whether you want them to or not. People you think who you've had no interaction with may have actually picked up perfectly on what you're embodying, even though you barely know them, because it's so loud. It's so loud. It's so very loud. So awesome question, Nikki. And you and I have done so much of this together. So when we're talking about, and I'll get to that. So when we're talking about purpose, and we're viewing it as an emotional spectrum, which is the way that I approach it. So we're not talking about a job title. We're not talking about an action yet. We're talking about a lens that you look through. When you see your purpose in this way, then you now ascribe this meaning to your life, right? You can see that your life is about expressing a certain way of being. It's about showing up and providing or being an example of a certain way of moving through the world, or looking at issues, or working through problems. And so that's the awareness step. And once we have this conscious awareness, that gives us the ability to then take purposeful action, which gives us the feeling of meaning. Does that make sense? So the meaning is the awareness itself. The purpose is the action. And when you take purposeful action, you get the sensation of meaning. Right? Okay, I know this is like the words are a little circular here. But feel into them, because there's something here on a feeling level. So we need the awareness. We need the awareness that we're not talking about an action. We're talking about a felt sense of meaning. We're talking about an energetic calling card. Your energetic blueprint. Well, blueprint's the wrong word. It's a calling card. It's what distinguishes you as an individual soul from the individual soul next to you. You're both part of life, but why are you unique? And this uniqueness has nothing to do with whether or not you're both nurses or both teachers or both doctors. It has nothing to do with how you choose to express your purpose. It has nothing to do with how you choose to express the unique value and meaning you bring into the world. It has to do with the emotion, the emotional range, the experience that you're having with your own life, right? So when you bring consciousness to that by looking at what I call the emotional spectrum of your purpose. Sorry, I just got distracted by the phone flipping up something. So when you get clear on how to define meaning for yourself. So I define meaning in a couple different ways. And I'm going to use this term to mean a number of different things. So you've already noticed I've used the term meaning to talk about awareness, but now we're going to use it to talk about value and getting at your purpose itself. So when we look at our purpose as this emotional range, then I know how to understand the things that have happened in my life. I also know how to understand how people interpret me, and I also now can make choices about how I share that message related to my purpose, related to the meaning that I've now ascribed to my own life, and what it means to go through the experiences I've had. I now have the words to share that because I have the awareness of what's going on. And with that awareness, I can communicate and make deliberate choices. So let me give you an example. So a lot of people come to me for purpose-based work, and they say, okay, well, just tell me what my purpose is. All right. So that's a gut reaction that a lot of us are in. We're like totally fed up. We can't understand why we're stressed out. We can't understand why we're stuck. We can't understand why everybody seems to be feeling great and we're not. We can't understand why some people are like, oh, well, I just found my purpose when I became a teacher, and you just haven't found it yet. Like it's boxing us into a corner of assuming that your purpose is a job description and that you just haven't hit on the right thing yet. And so especially for people who have tried a lot of different things, we get really, really frustrated because we're like, well, am I supposed to just keep looking? Like, what if I'm sort of past this point? And what happens when I found something that felt really purposeful and then it stops feeling really purposeful? Like, what happens then, which was my experience. I thought my entire life purpose was to do this work in the government. I did it. And then what? Like, is my purpose just over at the age of 28? Like, I just achieved what I thought I wanted to do. Of course, there could have been more, but it didn't feel like that soul's drive anymore. So we get boxed into these corners where we consistently look for an answer. And we expect that answer to just show up out of the blue because people say that, right? They're like, oh, well, I found my purpose once I had this. But we're using these terms loosely, right? And we're conflating the term purpose with I feel satisfied in my job. I feel like I'm making a difference. Those are great ways to feel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you found your purpose. And there's lots of ways to contribute without thinking that it's like your high and mighty purpose. We can all go volunteer for things that make us feel really fulfilled and feel great and know that we contributed. We can have people who, this happens a lot, women who stay at home and raise children. They're like, wow, I didn't know my purpose until I raised children. Like, absolutely, that is an incredibly meaningful contribution. That doesn't mean that there aren't other things you could do that would also be meaningful contributions, and we might say is your purpose at a different time. So we get really confused between this feeling of contribution and this feeling of worthwhileness and the word purpose. So when you go hunting for your purpose, we're looking for people to just give us an answer, right? And that's the thing that I want to say, like, we got to stop that pattern. We got to stop that pattern. Unless you're looking for me, and then please look for me and come to me. But we have to stop that pattern because that sets us up for disappointment. Because if we're constantly looking outside of ourselves, like, is this job the right thing? Is this career path the right thing? Is this relationship or this opportunity the right thing? Is this going to fulfill my lacking sense of meaning, fulfillment, contentment, and contribution in my life? Is this going to fulfill that box of purpose? We're putting too much pressure on it because all of those feelings come from choices that we've made inside. We can stumble upon them by accident, but we've got to do a little bit of conscious effort to figure out how to recreate that if we don't want to just stumble through life hoping that something's going to make us feel like we're supposed to be here. So okay, I'm getting all lost with myself. So when I like that, being an example of being in the world, certainly, so we find meaning in a specific way of being, and that leads to purposeful action which reinforces the meaning. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, perfectly said, Nikki. Everybody read Nikki's comment. So we need to stop this sort of cycle of looking outside of ourselves for purpose, and especially looking for purpose to be a very specific action, because you can infuse any action with purpose if you've shifted to the awareness of meaning. Listen to that statement. Any action can be purposeful if you've shifted your awareness to one of meaning. So when you look at your purpose the way I do, as an emotional spectrum, you're here to experience the range of, in my personal life, feeling enough to feeling not enough. All of my life now makes sense when I look through that lens of purpose. I'm experiencing this range. I can be deliberate and purposeful in my actions. I can infuse my career with purpose when I infuse my career with the experience of helping other people to feel enough, with the experience of challenging myself to feel more enough, with the experience of pushing the limits on how little enough, less enough, insecure I feel. That's how I deliberately infuse my job with purpose, or my career with purpose. But I can do that with anything in my life. I can be purposeful and feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose in a conversation with my niece, if that conversation revolves around feeling like you're enough or navigating insecurity, right? Because my purpose area is this emotional spectrum. This is my emotional calling card. This is my soul's emotional, energetic calling card. I'm on this spectrum. And how I know that, there's the process that I use. So if you're curious about that, go through my process. You can find it in a webinar. You can call me, work with me, any of that. But how I know this is that when I'm around other people, they pick up on the high side of the light side of my purpose, right? Of the emotional spectrum. People are always saying like, oh, I just feel like I can do anything around you, or you lift me up, or, I really feel like I get myself and I can accept myself. The word atonement comes up a lot. Oh, I just feel like I can accept everything about me. Like, I help people feel enough literally just by my own physical presence, by the way that I show up, the way I communicate and talk with people. All of that was not deliberate. It is deliberate in my business, but it was not intentional previously. On the other side, I'm living the shadow side. So I'm dealing with issues of insecurity. I'm dealing with my own exciting process to lean more into feeling enough. So when you're on this emotional spectrum of purpose, you get the opportunity to both like wallow in the shadow of it, but also naturally express it to others. If you want to then feel purposeful in your action, because purpose is about action, meaning is about awareness. If you want to take purposeful action, then we take your purpose, you take that emotional spectrum, and you choose to express it in deliberate ways. So you choose to make conversations, you choose to make opportunities, you choose to make experiences more meaningful to you with the awareness that you're working on a certain emotional range of issues. Maybe you're working on connection to alienation, or resistance to acceptance, or whatever that is for you. So we find this purpose, and by purpose I mean an emotional spectrum that your soul is playing out, that your soul is like, I'm going to have this take on life. I'm just going to look through the lens of my life, of my own unique soul, through these particular pair of goggles. And I'm going to see everything that there is to know about this range of emotion. And some of those experiences are going to trigger me. Some of them are going to be really fulfilling. But I'm going to learn about this emotional spectrum between these two opposites, whatever those are for you. And if you need help with that, that's what I'm here for. And then once we have that, we can make choices about action. And that's how we feel purpose. So I get that you want your purpose. I get that you want your purpose to be a job description. What I'm trying to say is a couple things here. One, purpose is about action, but any action you take can be purposeful once you are aware of how to create meaning in your life. Hey, Tori. So another thing that I want to talk about here is joy. Do we only have one emotional spectrum in a lifetime? I have no, thanks, Tori. I have no evidence, Nikki, to date of people having more than one. I was just talking about this on a call, actually. Somebody said, well, what if you switch? As of right now, from the work that I've done over the last 10 years, I don't have any evidence of somebody having more than one. That doesn't mean it's not possible. I'm open to the potential. But as of right now, it appears that we play out one emotional spectrum in multiple ways. So I'm not saying that you have to have one career. I'm not saying you have to have one way of working through it or that you're working on one particular issue. None of that. That can all change. That can change minute by minute. It does, right? It does. We change hour by hour in our lives. We change our careers. We change our relationships. We change all of that. But what's playing out, what our soul is working through, learning about, as far as I can tell, that stays the same. But I am open to evidence to the contrary on that and really expanding this concept. So when we look at creating more meaning in our lives, we look at a couple different things. And one of the techniques I really love is looking at how you most want to feel. So moving above this, so emotional spectrum's the highest level, right? We've got our soul's vision, our soul's purpose, and then we're going to come down to you as an individual, because we all live in this reality, in this realm of blood and bones and flesh, right? So in this realm, I want to think about how I can ensure that I have the most meaning in my day-to-day life. And when I do that, then I know that my actions that I take are going to feel purposeful. CDFs. Yeah, so I view that, so yes, in this aspect, we're talking about core desired feelings, which Danielle LaPorte has made really popular. I've used them slightly differently. I get to them slightly differently, and I put them into a much bigger framework so that they're part of a process, but they're not the whole process. So thank you for that. So when we're talking about ideal feelings, we're coming to you. To you is a level of who you are now. And what I mean by ideal feeling is not how you want to feel in relation to this moment in time. Because a lot of times what happens is people are like, well, I feel really... Oh, yeah. No, thanks, Troy. Actually, I was just having this conversation before. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, good reminder. Thank you. But yeah, core desired feelings. I call them ideal feelings because core desired feelings is proprietary, and also I'm not using them in quite the same way. But yeah, absolutely. This work is... The work that Danielle LaPorte has put out is just game-changing, and the focus that we've brought back into with so many coaches and particularly the Desire Map work to bring back to ourselves and sort of igniting our emotions and trusting our emotions and leaning into our emotions and really having a relationship with our emotions instead of just tuning them out and pushing through, I think is just absolutely groundbreaking and has been illuminating for so many of us. So when we look not at how we want to feel in relation to this moment in time, but how we want to feel at the end. And I say at the end not because I'm a fatalist and that's the only time you can ever feel that way, but that it gives us not like we're not reacting right now. So if right now you're feeling really broken, stuck, and you're like, well, in my life, I just want to feel abundant and clear. Like that's a reactive feeling. You want to feel that way because you don't feel that way now. But I want to know once you've won, once everything's worked out perfectly and you achieved everything you could ever imagine plus more, how do you want to feel then? So we go to the ideal feelings. That's what it's not. It's not what you want now. It's the ideal way that you want to feel. So in those ideal feelings, we make a list of them. There's, probably a couple of them. Narrow it down. This is some of Mike Iamele's work that's so amazing. Narrow it down. No, don't shut up. You're not distracting, Tori. It's awesome. You're just adding to it. I love it. So narrow down those feelings to a few. And then what we do with them is I want you to think, when have I felt almost all of these feelings all at once? All at once. So what happens for most people is that there's a very short list of memories. Very short. 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. And I want you to look at those memories and pull out the common elements of them. So what we notice when we do that is that there are a couple things that become the components of actions in our lives that turn out to directly feel meaningful and purposeful to us. So let me give you an example. I'll give you my own example because it's top on my mind, and then I don't have to use any client examples. Go away, text message. So I want to feel in my life content. I want to feel expansive. I want to feel like charged and sparked, untethered. Like I have a couple ways that I want to feel. And when I think about the times where I've felt almost all of those at once, it's a pretty short list. It's like helping somebody learn how to play ultimate frisbee, encouraging somebody in my running club from a couple years ago. I was running next to her. Being at a book club with a small group of women, how I feel after yoga and how I feel swimming underwater. So you might think like, Alexis, that's crazy. None of those things have anything to do with each other. Like, what are you supposed to get out of that, especially related to your business, especially related to your career? Like, what am I supposed to do with that? So, but when you really look, there are actually a couple common elements. I was with one person or a small group. Or in the example of yoga, I had just been in a small group. And it was the feeling after that. So small group, one-on-one. I was in a supporting role for most of those memories. I was laughing with people. I was encouraging them. I was teaching, helping them. And then there's this concept of stillness. So the stillness and ease after yoga, that internal alignment and knowingness, the stillness of being underwater. So when I then go to deliberately shape my life in a way that allows me to say I'm living my purpose, allows me, which in my world means my days feel meaningful, then I'm going to create a structure in my life. I'm going to create a business it may be a business, it may be the job choice that you take, it may be your daily habits or the hobbies that you have or the extracurriculars that you do. I'm going to create a life that allows me to have those elements. Small group and one-on-one, encouraging people, feeling joy and laughing, and finding that sense of stillness. You can pretty easily see how we got from those to here, right? I coach people in small groups or one-on-one. I do improv with just small groups and one-on-one and encouraging. I swim, I do triathlons, and I teach yoga. And I have like my daily practice. We can, I've created a life that directly reflects the things that make me feel the ways that I most want to feel. And the ways that I most want to feel are the things that help me feel meaningful. And when I feel meaningful, that's the awareness, then I know that I'm deliberately taking action in a way that's meaningful. And that's purpose, right? Purpose is action. Meaning is awareness. So long story short there, I think I've been calling meaning these. Hold on, Nikki, let me read this. I got to read your previous one too. I can see all of the things, jobs, issues, etc., tie into one continuum of learning to listen to my own inner voice. Yes, exactly. So that would be your emotional spectrum of something like trusting self versus not trusting self, or intuition versus disconnected. So, Nikki, that's awesome. So I think I've been calling these my meaning, these my themes previously. Could view every experience of my life through the lens of that theme. So I'll start doing it even more. Yes, so once we have this awareness of our, I'm gonna mess up all the words here for you and get it all confuddled up. Once we view our purpose not as a job title that somebody's going to give us, not as one and only action that's going to help us feel like it's the only way that we could possibly feel like we contributed, and the only way that we could possibly feel like our life was a value on earth. Like once we let go of that pressure and stop asking quizzes and coaches and other people to tell us what to do, and instead see our purpose as something we've already been living, that we are living at every moment in time, because it's literally just the goggles that we're wearing that we can't take off. You can never take them off. You can't see yourself and your life through not these goggles, right? So once you can find it anywhere. So once you see that your purpose is a choice that you make based on wanting to have meaning in your life and wanting to infuse your actions with meaning, then you can see that it's a deliberate choice to live your purpose. You're living it every day, not because you stumbled into the right career. Yeah. I know, Tori, because you teach on purpose and you're freaking amazing. So yeah, preach it. Preach it. So your purpose is a choice. It's an action-based choice every day, right? Not because you stumbled into it, not because somebody told you in like a quiz, or not because your like career counselor in high school was like, you should probably be a therapist. Like, you can infuse being a therapist with meaning. You can infuse being a doctor with meaning. Or you can be miserable in those roles because they don't hold meaning for you, because you haven't taken the time to become aware of what meaning is for you and become aware of what feels purposeful to you. Oh, thanks, Tori. Yeah, and then you can find purpose in everything that you do. So I hope that was helpful. I know it's a little bit of a rant and it goes a little bit in a circle. We will clarify and clarify and clarify and get more and more into this as the year goes on. But it came up enough today that I was like, I got to talk about this difference between meaning and purpose, because meaning is awareness of how you want to feel, awareness of what you're here to experience, awareness of your life being an expression, your emotional calling card, your energetic calling card, right? It's an experience. It's an iterative experience. Purpose is about action. It's about taking deliberate action that then gives you that feeling of meaning back. So we infuse the action with meaning, and then the action gives us that really good feeling of contribution and value back, right? So we give into it, it gives us back. It gives into it, it gives us back. If we're infusing something with meaning and it's not giving it to us back, something's gone wrong. Something's gone wrong. And if we're doing an action and it's not giving it back, it's because we didn't infuse it with meaning. So hopefully that helps you think about purpose. Yeah, I'm now tired. I have a little bit of a cold. I'm going to go to bed. So purpose is about deliberate action. Exactly. Yeah. Meaning is what we're looking for. The vast majority of people are not looking for purpose. They're looking for meaning. And once we have meaning and an understanding of meaning, or more importantly, an awareness of our meaning, awareness of what's meaningful to us, then we can take any action and make it a purposeful action. So that's really the key, is discover allow yourself to open to an awareness of meaning. What's meaningful for you? What feels meaningful for you? What specific actions? What specific types of engagement? What specific conversations? Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. Thank you, ladies, so much for adding your amazingness to this. Tori, I would actually love to hear you go to town on this, because you are amazing. And the way that you approach purpose is absolutely brilliant. So let's go over and hop over to Tori's page and like her and wait for her to do some live videos too. So, hi, Auntie D. Good night. Mwah.